I've had this Isaiah text stuck in my mind all week, this comfort my people. Comfort my people. And in typical sermon writing fashion, I said to myself, well, what would people need to be comforted from? And I started making a list. And I started thinking about the things that I'm uncomfortable about. And I got to a point where I realized my list was so long that it would probably be my whole sermon. And I thought, well, I've never done that before. But I think that's okay today. Because I think there's a lot of things going on around us in our world that should make us a little uncomfortable. The first thing, I am uncomfortable because the American meaning of Christmas has become consumerism and retail sales. With Thanksgiving night, stores being open, and Black Friday, people gathering at the crack of dawn and beforehand to get the best deal. Michelle and I were traveling between my sister's house in Atlanta for Thanksgiving and Savannah, Georgia, where the Masseys, who are here today, had a wonderful, beautiful wedding. Ryan, stand up and be recognized, because you had a big part of that wedding. There we go. There. It was a great time, but there was an outlet between Atlanta and Savannah, and so we thought, well, let's stop. It's a good spot to stop. And so, still limping from my knee, not sure what was going on, we found a parking spot and limped into the Nike store, and there was just a crowd of people unlike anything I've ever seen. There was so many people it almost took my breath away. I mean, anytime you tried to look at something, you had 10 people almost with their hands on the same thing. And it was all for 20% off. And I thought to myself, I don't need a deal this bad. But the consumerism was out of control. Maybe I'm bitter because I didn't find anything I wanted. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know why I think I'm so uncomfortable? Is because the livelihood of my family depends on retail sales. With Michelle being in marketing for Dick's Sporting Goods, and my father works for Sears Holdings at the headquarters. Without retail sales, my family would be in big trouble. And so it makes me uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable because in the past couple weeks, we have again been reminded that racism is a problem in our country. Racism is a problem in our country. And it's a problem here in Southlake. I was reminded of a story that I was told by one of the Southlake police officers of a woman who called the police because there was a black man in the driveway of the house across the street. And so the police came and said, "Hey, sir, can you tell us what you're doing here?" And he showed him his ID. He was at his house that he lived in for years. One of our members who lives out of the country most of the year has a grand piano that he wants us to use here at Abiding Grace. And so I took Lee and Charmaine over their house, and he told me how to get in because he's out of the country. And so I went around back, and Lee and Charmaine were standing in the driveway, and nobody called the cops. I guess you guys don't look very threatening. I'm uncomfortable because a black man, an unarmed black man, was killed in our country, and it became a debate on political lines. I don't understand how that can happen. But I guess if you turn on the news, I see where all the information and all the encouragement is coming from to debate about a man's life. It just doesn't make sense to me. It makes me uncomfortable. And I have no idea what can be done about it. This was what makes me the most uncomfortable, is I have no idea what I can do about it. But I know that rioting isn't the right thing to do. I grew up just north of the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit had a riot almost 50 years ago in 1967 and has never recovered from it. I'm uncomfortable because 73 years ago today, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, we're still fighting wars. But our wars are so much different today. It's not like we really know who our enemy is. And we're fighting more, instead of a country, we're fighting an idea. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know if anybody really knows how to do that well. And I don't know if we can ever quit doing that. I'm uncomfortable because in all of human history, there has been 250 years of peace. In all of human history, we still can't figure out how to live together in peace. I'm uncomfortable because of the great deal of hatred, disrespect, and pettiness in our government. It seems that both of our political parties have created a theology that will support their ideas. And I don't know where I fit in. I don't think I fit in anywhere. And so I'm uncomfortable. But I guess we all highlight our favorite verses in the Bible and ignore the stuff we don't like. I guess that's just part of human nature. I'm uncomfortable because I meet with hurting people often and can do nothing to fix it, can do nothing to really help them. As a pastor, my job is to come and be present with people and to pray with people. And that's about it. Shirley, it's so good to see you here this morning. And I know the last 2 months have been so difficult for you since Jim is gone. And it's been difficult for all of us here. And I wish that there was more that I could do for you. I'm uncomfortable because Christians, to me, seem more eager to proclaim God's judgment than God's love. Part of my Thanksgiving break was driving to Savannah, as I've already said. And when you get to 1,000 miles on America's interstates, you get to see all kinds of billboards and all kinds of Christian billboards. And I know there are well-meaning Christians out there, but when you try and scare people into heaven, it just doesn't work. And I'm uncomfortable because Jesus came and lived in a world that was much like the one we're living in right now. And even he couldn't change it. So he died for it. And the only comfort that we have, that we can share, is that Jesus has died. Jesus is risen. And Jesus will come again. Amen.